Throughout history, many great figures have faced doubt and uncertainty in their creative pursuits. Vincent van Gogh, one of the most renowned painters of all time, battled his own inner critic. His famous words, "If you hear a voice within you say, 'You cannot paint,' then by all means paint, and that voice will be silenced," encapsulate the human struggle against self-doubt and the incredible potential that lies on the other side of fear. The inner voice of doubt, friend or foe. We all have an inner voice, that constant commentary in our minds that evaluates, judges, and critiques everything we do. Sometimes this voice serves to protect us, warning us of potential dangers or failures. But more often than not, it becomes a source of paralyzing fear, convincing us that we are not capable, talented, or worthy. The moment we attempt something new or step outside our comfort zone, this voice tends to grow louder. Van Gogh's words speak directly to this battle. The voice that tells you, "You cannot paint," is not a reflection of reality but of your fears. This voice arises from uncertainty, past failures, or the fear of judgment. It seeks to keep you safe, but in doing so, it may also prevent you from realizing your full potential. The power of action. Van Gogh challenges us to defy this voice, not through argument or reasoning but through action. This is the key. When we take action despite fear, we prove to ourselves that we are capable of more than we thought possible. This is where growth begins. Whether it's painting, writing, speaking in public, starting a business, or learning a new skill, the act of doing is what transforms doubt into confidence. Action is the antidote to fear. When we act, we move beyond the paralysis of overthinking and enter a space of creation. Every stroke of the brush, every word written, every step taken weakens the voice of doubt. With each small victory, that once dominating voice loses its power. Failing forward. The necessary journey. Many people fear starting something new because they are afraid of failing. But here's the thing. Failure is part of the process. Van Gogh himself did not achieve success in his lifetime. He created over 2,100 works of art, and yet, he only sold one painting during his life. But that did not stop him from creating. He kept painting because he understood that the act of creation had its own intrinsic value, independent of external validation. Failure teaches us more than success ever could. It refines our skills, clarifies our vision, and reveals what doesn't work so we can find what does. Every failure is a step closer to mastery. If Van Gogh had listened to the inner critic that surely told him, "You cannot paint," the world would have been deprived of some of its most beautiful and impactful art. The journey of mastery. It's not instant. Mastery takes time. The greatest athletes, artists, musicians, and entrepreneurs were not born masters of their craft. They spent years, often decades, practicing, refining, and honing their skills. The inner critic does not go away simply because you have achieved some success. In fact, the more you grow, the more challenges you face, and the louder that voice may become. But the key is to continue taking action, especially when it feels uncomfortable. Progress may be slow, and the road to mastery is often filled with obstacles, but consistency and perseverance are what separate those who achieve greatness from those who settle for mediocrity. Each day that you push through the doubt and continue to act is a day that brings you closer to silencing that voice for good. Reframing the inner critic. While the inner critic often feels like an enemy, we can choose to view it differently. What if we saw that voice as an indicator that we are on the verge of growth? Whenever we hear, "You cannot do this," we know we are stepping into a space that will challenge us to grow, learn, and evolve. Rather than allowing that voice to stop us, we can use it as motivation to push forward. Consider the fact that the inner critic only appears when we are doing something meaningful. When we stay in our comfort zones, that voice remains quiet. It's only when we challenge ourselves, aim for something higher, or pursue our passions that the voice of doubt tries to hold us back. The next time you hear it, recognize it for what it is, a sign that you are on the right path. Taking the first step. Starting is always the hardest part. The voice inside your head may tell you that you need to wait for the perfect time, the perfect idea, or the perfect conditions. But the truth is, perfection is a myth. There will never be a perfect time to begin. The only time is now. If you hear the voice telling you that you cannot paint, then go out and buy a canvas. If it says you cannot write, open a blank page and start typing. If it says you cannot speak in public, sign up for a class or volunteer for a speaking opportunity. Whatever your personal painting may be, the first step is always the hardest, but it's also the most important. Once you take that first step, you'll find that the inner critic's voice begins to soften. Each subsequent step will feel a little easier, and before you know it, you'll be miles ahead of where you started. The ripple effect of courage: when you silence your inner critic and pursue your passions, you do more than just benefit yourself. You inspire others. Your courage to act, despite fear and doubt, creates a ripple effect. Others who witness your bravery will be emboldened to face their own fears. Your decision to defy the inner voice has the power to impact countless others, even if you are not aware of it. Imagine if Van Gogh had given in to his doubts and stopped painting. The world would have been deprived of the beauty and emotion that his work evokes. Similarly, if you give in to your inner critic, you may never know the positive impact your actions could have on others. Your work, your passion, and your creativity have the potential to touch lives in ways you cannot even imagine. Final thoughts. Trust the process. Van Gogh's words remind us that we do not need to have all the answers. We do not need to feel 100% confident before we begin. We just need to start. By taking action, we gradually build the confidence and skill that will allow us to silence the inner critic for good. So, the next time you hear that voice inside you say, "You cannot paint," remember that it's not a reflection of your ability or potential. It's merely the sound of fear. And the best way to overcome fear is to act. Paint, write, sing, create, whatever it is you feel called to do. In doing so, you'll find that the voice of doubt becomes nothing more than a whisper, and soon, it will be silenced altogether. The power to silence that voice lies within you. Embrace your potential, take the leap, and watch as you unlock possibilities you never thought possible.